Hello, welcome to NOLA Stamping. I'm Barb, and it's time to dive into a new Crafty Copycat Creations challenge. The challenge is all about taking a sketch or idea and making it your own. You can copy the layout, change the colors, swap the theme, use whatever supplies you have. There's no right way to do it. So this month's challenge is all about card sketches. I'll be honest, I used to avoid card sketches completely. I found them a little intimidating and I wasn't exactly sure how to use them or where to start. But once I gave them a real try, I realized how helpful they can be, especially when you're stuck or short on time. So for this month, Christina and I are using the same sketch to create many different cards. So today we're making the basic sketch in the A2 card size, one in red and one in blue, to show just how flexible a sketch can be using it exactly. You'll see how the layout stays the same, but the look and feel changes by swapping colors, patterns, stamps. So one thing that can feel tricky at first with card sketches is figuring out the dimensions. And I want to say this up front, there isn't one exact way to do it. Sketches are meant to be a guide, not a blueprint. So when I was starting out, that part really slowed me down. Sometimes I'd print out the sketch at 100% and literally measure it to get a feel for the proportions. Other times I opened the sketch in PowerPoint or another computer program, and I'd use the size tools to check the dimensions that way. So over time you learn common proportions and sizes, but early on trial and error is just completely normal. So you want to start with your card base first. So you know the card base is going to be an A2 for this one. So that's 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 inches. So I always use some scrap paper first and sort of figure out the dimensions to make sure that they're right before I cut into my pretty paper. And I always sort of figure out the relative space. So I don't say, what is the exact size of this square? But I'll be like, this looks like it's like 1/3 of the size of the actual card front. So what size would that be like in relation to the card dimensions? But luckily for you, I've already figured out all of the dimensions and I've got them all listed here for you. Okay, so the piece A that we're going to tape down first is at the very bottom and is 4 1/4 inches wide, because that's how wide the card is. And then it is 1 1/2 inches tall. And then the little strip that goes across it, the B piece, is also 4 1/4 inches wide, but it's only 1/2 an inch tall. So together you see that it kind of makes up about a third of the card front. So next we're going to be a little sneaky. So we need that square, but we want the dovetailed piece behind that square. And so that dovetailed piece is 3 1/4 inches wide, so it's not quite all the way across, but almost. So that's 3 3/4 of an inch by 1 1/2 inch. And then we'll put that square on top, the 2 1/2 inch by 2 1/2 inch square. And then our focal point with the sentiment is 2 inches by 2 inches. And you'll see that we stamped that a little bit earlier. We're using the Joyful Squares stamp set, which just came out. And I'm not putting that square down quite yet because I wanted to give a little bit of emphasis to the card. And so I thought it'd be fun to do like a little bit of ribbon or string and have it poking out from underneath the square. So it's a little bit of a chaos in a very controlled looking card. So I'm taking some retired silver thread and just wrapping it around my fingers. And then I put some adhesive on the back of that 2x2 square. And I'm just putting that and making sure that none of the extra little bits sort of flow off of it. And then I'm going to use some Stampin' dimensionals to attach that 2x2 square to the card front. That'll pop it up a little bit and just give it a little bit more emphasis than the rest of the things on the card, because the rest of the things on the card will be kind of like flat looking in comparison to that. So I'm just going to go ahead and attach that. And then I'm going to attach a couple of dovetails at the very top. That gives it a nice balance on the card front. And those are all about 1/2 inch wide by about 3/4 of an inch or so tall. And what I like to do is just like dovetail that piece of paper, and then especially if you have like a bunch of scraps, and then just snip off the tops. So then, like if you get a longer piece, it doesn't go to waste. So then the last thing to do is to add a couple of embellishments. So I have these retired embellishments, but the blue is just like almost perfect, even though I think it wasn't supposed to go with this color of blue. It goes perfectly with this true blue paper set. So I'm going to go ahead and grab those and just add my 3 on the front. And that is it. And it is exactly like the card sketch was, but with a couple of embellishments and a little zhuzhing. So let's go ahead and make another version. I'm going to speed this up since we talked through like the card base previously. So I didn't really tell you, but I am using the Joyful Square stamp set, which is new. So I'm using a darker color for the sentiment that goes in the center of that card. And then I'm just going to use a Post-it note to cover up on the sides. And I'm going to use like a lighter color for the little like lines that go around that make it like into a really kind of neat square. And I think I'm using Pretty in Pink for the lines for the pink one, and Real Red for the color. In the blue one, I use Night of Navy for the main little snippets of joy, and used a balmy blue for the radial, like the little lines that go around it. So one thing that you may have noticed is when I find a sketch that I really like, I've gone through the effort of printing it out. A lot of times what I'll do is I'll make Post-it notes with the different sizes written on there. So then I can just keep track in the future of the different pieces and parts to the card. So it makes it like so much easier. If you've got a bunch of things on your desk, you just put the Post-it note like directly onto your card parts, and then it just makes assembling just go so much quicker. So I've been keeping 8.5 by 11 binder where I've printed out the different card sketches, and then I put the Post-it notes like directly on the sketch. So then when I'm like struggling or I need a sketch or something, I go to that binder and then I just grab that page, and then I'll have the Post-it notes ready to go. So then I just need to snip things down a little bit. So I sped up the red card assembly just because we've already gone through the blue one so far. So the only major change was the baker's twine instead of the silver, and these red gems instead of the blue ones. And this is why I love using card sketches. So even though both of these cards started with the same sketch, they feel completely different. The sketch gives you a starting point, not a set of rules, so you can tailor each card to the person you're making it for, or the paper you love, or the mood you're going for. It's not an assembly line, it's a creative shortcut that still lets every card be unique. So, if you want to play along with this month's Crafty Copycat Creations Challenge, head on over to the Facebook group and post a photo of your card. Be sure to watch for Christina's video next week, catch our podcast on the third Monday of the month, and don't forget to stay crafty.